Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 114 of Page Valley Livin'. We're here today once again this week on the Greenway in Luray. We're on what they call the North Loop of the Greenway for two actual ceremonies today. They're going to happen simultaneously. It's the 26th annual Arbor Day celebration by the Town of Luray, and today is also the 25th anniversary celebration for the Hawksbill Greenway. They broke ground back on April 7th of 2001 for the Greenway, and we're celebrating a quarter century of walking along this beautiful linear park that has been established here in Luray and is really one of the crown jewels of the Parks and Rec Department. We'll hear from Jen Jennings. She'll give a welcome here later today during our ceremony. The mayor, Stephanie Lillard, is going to read an Arbor Day proclamation. There'll be presentations for the Tree City USA Award given by Kane Harbinson of the Virginia Department of Forestry. We'll also have a few other things, programs. We're going to also talk about the new expansion to Yeager Springs, which is the new project taking place here with the Greenway. All of this and so much more here today at the Arbor Day and Hawksbill Greenway anniversary celebration on the North Loop of the Greenway in Luray. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. At Luray Caverns, the Smithsonian Institution said, quote, "It is safe to say there is probably no other cave in the world more completely and profusely decorated than that of Luray. Come see Mother Nature showing off, only at Luray Caverns. Visit them online at luraycaverns.com to plan your trip today."
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are welcome. Our son at Virginia Tech.
25 years ago that this trail would have been so transformational for our community, and it certainly has been. So ironically, we're also here today overlooking the exact location that will carry us forward into the next 25 years. So we've certainly come full circle on this project, and we're continuing to grow and to expand. And that really is in part, well, actually mostly in part, to everybody. This is a community effort, and been so many hours dedicated to our community in various ways over the past years, whether it's tree planting or trail construction. Our investment in our community has been amazing, and we get to celebrate it today. So thank you to everyone.
All right. The 2026 Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees, and whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas Arbor Day can reduce the erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs through temperature moderation, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide a habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and the beauty to our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas the Town of Luray, Virginia, is recognized as Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Stephanie Lillard, Mayor of the Town of Luray, Virginia, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April the 18th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the Town of Luray. The celebration will begin at 11 a.m. as we're here, and again, thank you on behalf of the Town Council and our Parks and Rec. We appreciate you all, the volunteers, and your continued support of all the good things that we're doing. Thank you.
coming after the proclamation, I always forget that every year Luray's proclamation has a way of covering about half my talking points. But, you know, Arbor Day is a fantastic day to just celebrate trees and all the benefits that trees and forests in general really provide for us. Trees don't just provide benefits for the landowner and the people who own the individual tree or the individual forest. They're providing massive ecological benefits for us in society as a whole. One of the biggest ones that we take for granted in this area, because it's such a common resource for us, is clean water and helping filter the water that's going into our aquifers that we're using for everything we do. It cleans our air, provides wood products, provides shelter for us, and for wildlife, foraging opportunities, recreational opportunities, and just there's an intrinsic value that you just cannot describe when you're looking at a forest in a green space. And Luray, this is their 26th year of being a Tree City USA, certified Tree City USA. Actually, in my counties, they are the oldest Tree City I have. Woodstock is a very close second at 25 years, but Luray is, you know, the oldest. It has been participating in Tree City program the longest. Also, for such a small municipality that Luray is, they are one of the most active members in our district. Our district is from Frederick and Clark all the way down to Augusta and Highland. I'm not exactly sure of the total number of municipalities, but Luray is definitely in the top 3 of being active as far as partners with us on urban forestry projects. And so it's just wonderful. If you've heard me talk at Arbor Day, you know, in the past at really any municipality, I always bring up my favorite thing about trees, and that's their ability to make wood from thin air, because it's the coolest magic trick in nature. They're literally pulling material out of the air and turning it into wood, and it's just a fantastic trick. And I want to thank Jen and the town of Luray for being such great partners with us and continuing to partners with us. Chris, I did not realize that you were the original mastermind behind the Greenway. That is fantastic.
Well, I did half the plan. Volunteers did a lot of the treatment.
Well, someone still had to plan it, you know. But anyway, thank you all and have a great day.
Foundation, as they celebrate their 25th year. We look forward to the exciting planned expansion to Yeager Spring, which you will hear about later in this program. Luray has held Tree City USA status since 1997, and as you heard, this is our 26th Arbor Day. Our committee consists of 7 volunteers holding 4-year terms appointed by Luray Town Council. We are a diverse group of volunteers with backgrounds in education, the arts, landscaping, and environmental planning. It has been a rewarding experience working with these members and watching Luray grow. I've been a member since 2011. Some of our other members, we have Lainey Vickers, I don't know where she is, Josh Main, who's going to do our tree planting, I hope, Susan Betcher, Will Daniels, there he is, Alan Betcher, and where's Kathy? Kathy Miranda. I want to give a special recognition to Kathy. Where is she? She's in the back. Come here. I have something for you. Is she there? Okay. Well, I'll give it to her. Kathy does so much. Twice a year, she makes ornaments. And you'll see, here she is. She makes the ornaments for Arbor Day and also for our tree at Christmas time. Kathy, what do you want? I just got a little something for you. Thank you for all your work. Oh, man. Thank
spends a lot of time on this.
And I do have raffle tickets, so don't forget to get them.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. So just some of our duties that we do during the year: facilitate the planting, growth, and selection of trees. You'll see back on one of the tables, we published a tree handbook. Please take one. They're geared towards homeowners and how to select the proper tree for your property. We also review proposed improvement plans and make recommendations as to design aesthetics and plant selections. We provide funding for small capital improvement projects such as tree plantings, streetscape furnishings, seasonal decorations, and new murals. Murals are very, a big thing anymore, as you probably noticed. We help select the new mural locations, approve the artwork that the mural artists submit. We also recommend repairs to existing murals. This past summer, you may have seen you've probably seen the eye-catching mural downtown across from Town Hall. That was done by Gary Grant, and it's an absolutely gorgeous mural called Dreams of Luray. So we're hoping to do more of that caliber of mural.
At Luray Caverns, from well-lighted paved walkways, explore cathedral-sized rooms with ceilings 10 stories high, and walk among huge chambers filled with towering stone columns. Come visit Geology's Hall of Fame, only at Luray Caverns. Visit them online at luraycaverns.com to plan your trip today.
No. Do you have one? I am sure we could get him to give you a copy. Okay.
It was more than I could capture in my brain at one time.
Okay. I'll tell you what, let's do. I'm going to give you my phone number. You email me your email address.
Okay.
And then I will somehow, some way get that info to you. And we'll communicate by email until we achieve that. All right? Well, and thank you for your interest. So,
It was incredibly interesting.
oh, well, it's a wealth of information. Certainly, most people couldn't unless you had a photograph. Okay, here we go. Here's from Jim Davis. Phone number 804. Yeah, sure. Yes, ma'am. 804.
Hawksbill Greenway Foundation was established in June of 2009. We're incorporated as a 501c3 arm of the Town of Luray. In Luray, there are over 300 acres of parks. A community or a town of less than 5,000 people with 300 acres of parks. Well, that's just fantastic. So our mission is to support the Town of Luray in maintaining those 300 acres of parks, especially dedicated to the Greenway. I want to give a special shout out to our friend Margaret Stevenson. Margaret's sitting right here. Not only is, let's give Margaret a hand. Hey Margaret, thank you. Not only is Margaret an extremely active member of our foundation, she was also very instrumental in the development of the Greenway. All of you have heard the name Ken Byer. Ken Byer, father of the Greenway, tremendous individual. Ken left us, passed away in September 21st of 2025 at the age of 95. Without the work of Ken Byer, there would not be a Greenway. We were just so blessed by his life and what he gave. He actually was a member of the Tree and Beautification Committee, and from that came the Hawksbill Greenway Foundation out of that work. So I cannot say enough wonderful things about Ken, And at this time, it's a pleasure to introduce Jean Byer, Ken's wife, and we fondly call her now the mother of the Greenway. So Jean.
Oh, gosh. It's so nice to be here. Thank you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has supported the Greenway all these past 25 years. In 2001, Ken and Pat O'Brien may have been the catalyst, but it was the support from the community and many organizations that made it happen then and even now. It's ironic that we are also celebrating Arbor Day in this riparian area. In 2000, a year before Phase 1 began, over 200, and probably a lot more than that, different varieties of trees were planted, which are all there to see. The section for the cows was enclosed and 2 water stations installed, keeping the animals from contaminating the Hawksbill Creek, which led to an A1 trout stream as it is today. The loop here, was the second phase of the Greenway. Over the years, Ken and I have been asked many times, what brought you to Luray? Well, to be honest, it was a retirement workshop and a bluebird, but that's for another day. Throughout our 73 years of marriage, God has always directed our path, and I believe it was His plan to bring us to Luray in 1992 to eventually help create the Greenway. Ken had only one regret, that the Greenway never made it out to Ralph Dean Park. But who knows, God does work in mysterious ways. Thanks again to all who have supported the Hawksbill Greenway. Now it's time to continue what was once a dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean, so much.
Yep.
As she said, we certainly want to thank all of our donors that have helped us. All of the donors to the Greenway are listed on our website, hawksbillgreenway.org. Today, I'd like to give a special shout out as we look toward the expansion of the Greenway to Luray Caverns Corporation for their donation, John and Rod Graves, Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative, because of Operation Roundup, we've received 3 grants, the Pure Water Forum, and of course, the Virginia Department of Forestry. Thank you all so much for what you've done for us. We really appreciate it. I do encourage you, if you would be so kind, when you go home, go to your computers and go to hawksbillgreenway.org. There is a video on there produced by C.L. Russell from Broadway, who's a professional photographer. But C.L. donated that video, and it's a fantastic video, and I think you'll enjoy watching it. It brings tears to my eyes every time I look at it. Phase 1 of the Greenway expansion was a feasibility study. The town of Luray put up $25,000. Due to your generosity, the foundation raised $25,000. We were successful with that feasibility study. That led us to phase 2. Because of the feasibility study, we realized we needed an archaeological study. The Greenway Foundation was able to put up $30,000. The town of Luray $30,000 for a $60,000 cost for our archaeological study. Now we've gotten to phase 3. That gave us the go to do the expansion of the Greenway. And right now we're raising funds for the development of the final construction plans and drawings. That has a price tag of about $200,000. So far, the town has committed $100,000 to that effort. The foundation has raised about $60,000. So hopefully by the time you leave here today, we'll have the balance of the $40,000. Okay?
If you all can imagine, in the year 1737 is kind of when all this starts. January the 1st, a man was born by the name of Derek Pennybacker in a place called Trop, Pennsylvania, and he was going to forever change this place called Luray in the future. In his youth, Pennybacker apprenticed the trade of iron forging and smelted under a gentleman by the name of Mark Bird, founder of Hopewell Furnace in Pennsylvania. Our town has a lot of connections to Germany, Switzerland, and Pennsylvania. So keep that in mind the whole time I'm talking to you today. Prior to this, he worked in the trade in the Schuylkill River, Pottstown, Pennsylvania region, and became a wagoner. Now, what's a wagoner? A wagoner is a person that builds wagons. And he gained a lot of valuable experience with iron products being shipped from one place to another. When Iron Master Mark Bird raised his army during the Revolution 250 years ago to oppose the British Army, Derek Pennybacker volunteered to fight and enlisted as a captain. After being a veteran of the Revolution, he returned to a furnace lease in southern Maryland called Antietam Creek, which we've all heard of, and he rented a place called D&S Hughes Furnace. About 1784, the furnace operation had, as he had invested, was destroyed by an unusual flood or freshet that year. He lost everything, basically. Collected what he had left and his family and iron workers to set out for the lands that Pennybacker purchased in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and he aimed to make a fortune by creating a new iron furnace here in this very area right here, just behind me. He arrived in Woodstock, Virginia in 1781, and in the town with a documented 89 living souls, as was recorded. It was said the air was filled with the townspeople laughing and hooping and hollering and filled with much celebration. Derek asked, "What is all the fuss about here in the town?" A townsman said, "Haven't you heard? Cornwallis has surrendered to George Washington. Victory." The word likely would have taken many days to get to the valley from Yorktown. Could one imagine how they may have felt to be witness that day upon the arrival to your new home and your new nation? It was a very special moment. Pennybacker had bought several pieces of land in Shenandoah County. One was near Smith Creek, setting up Pine Forge, and very close to Newmarket, and then the other side of the mountain, now known as Page County, right here. He had put into operation a large operation at what he called Spring Forge, at what we now call Yeager Spring. Pennybacker built many small log cabin dwellings that were temporary starter homes for his workers, and at least one stone house used then mainly to cook and serve the workers' meals, which still exists today. We hope to preserve it. This stone structure stands by the spring, and we refer to it as the cafeteria. The significance of this blue hole on the opposite side of the Hawksbill Creek, Pennybacker chose this site for a new venture. And without this place, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't probably be here today with this part of it anyway. But the spring pumps an average of 8 million gallons a day and is a major tributary to the Shenandoah River just 3 miles downstream. The emerging spring water could power the mills, giant bellows, large trip hammer for refining the iron, which would purify the iron, get all the impurities out of it, and would set up a whole operation, made it possible. That form of energy, that raw energy, had to be there. And the hydro energy is a very powerful energy as well. I might mention, we are situated a part of the core of Page County's significant limestone karst geology in this whole area. This vicinity provided an abundant limestone for the iron and hydrological energy. Also essential is the alchemy of smelting iron. The Shenandoah River then was a major transportation route, as well as using flat-bottom boats called gondolas to get their products to point B to market. Taking a step even farther back, we must recognize that this area was once home for thousands of years and generations of Native Americans who fished, hunted, and dwelled all along this Hawksbill Creek. The site would have certainly been a revered place for early tribes, as they regarded springs and confluence of rivers as sacred. And it is the most sacred place to me too. So hope you all can visit there one day. I hope and I believe that this still holds true, hence an important water source then and now, both locally and for the Chesapeake Bay watershed. No wonder later in 1786, Pennybacker saw this spring as a second chance for his life and his fortunes after much failure in Maryland for his furnace aspirations. As this new property, Pennybacker commenced building stone blast furnace, which would be smelted after he set up the components. He built a large pyramid-shaped stone stack, which you'll see right here to my right or your left. All of this he and his workers created was from raw resources that surrounded them, together with the complex knowledge they had learned early to build a furnace complex. Here, a self-sufficient colonial plantation, a community that would evolve out of the wilderness, a whole community that would later become known as Luray, Virginia. And that would evolve into a wonderful place to live and dwell. This is where it all began, right here. September 21st, 1787, Pennybacker went into blast with this furnace. It was dubbed the Red Well Furnace. The operation continued with much success, and they made castings, which you'll see up here. I have examples here and photographs here as well of our stoves. And they are of beautiful aesthetic quality and now viewed as folk art. Here's this furnace. They would sand cast for molded 5-plate stoves, 6-plate stoves, and 10-plate stoves. Also gypsy pots, pans, fire dogs, and really anything that you could think of that was iron at that day that was in your home, it's going to be made here. These iron bars that they made, called pig, were also used by blacksmiths to forge essential items made of iron in society: nails, tools, horseshoes, hinges, anything you could think of. The first casting commemorated the very day he was in operation. It reads, Derek Pennybacker in his Red Well Furnace, September 21st, 1787. In addition, the side plates reads in German, I'm a hunter on a hunt also, with the stating on the back in German, I am the maker of the form, Jacob Kiblinger. These 6-plate stoves represent the only castings ever cast in the United States, with two languages on them, of German and English. Let's take a moment to pause here for a moment at this beautiful place. And I do want to take this moment to thank God for this beautiful day we have today. Just really special. We must recognize this truly awesome natural place that God created for us, and the resources given to us and to the native people that once dwelled in this area. The serenity now excludes its uniqueness to me. But then imagine this place in the 18th and 19th century. It was filled with a lot of pollution, activity, and at least 150 workers and other people associated nearby as a part of the function as an industrial and economic system. So much hinged on this community and its operations being a sure success for everyone in this part of the valley. If only one of the many factors in the cogs of the wheel of an iron furnace needed to operate went wrong, the furnace would fail and all would be lost. So a very high-risk business for sure. We honor the courage of these people at this site. We wish to preserve the memory of those people that lived here and worked and that died here. This is what gave birth to our community. Some individuals were indentured servants, some were not free at all, who were black enslaved workers, and some were black freemen. And some women were employed to grow food, cook, and care for the workers and the infirm. This majority of remaining men at the time were the German descendants, were also Scotch-Irish, French, English, African-American, and many others. All these Americans with one sole purpose: to produce iron to literally forge out a living. This was not an easy life, and a business that required much risk and moving parts. To make an iron furnace, one had to make these resources possible: hydro energy, iron, coal, limestone, lime, immense human resources some brute force and other individual tradesmen for the many complex trades associated with the industry. And then you had to have people that bought it. Many descendants of the people that worked and lived at this furnace site still live here in this county and are present today. Imagine after a short while, almost all the trees you see on Arbor Day were gone. Now, it took a lot of preparation. This was what powered the furnace, other than the hydro power was wood. So you can imagine all these mountains around here were at some point in time were bare because of this iron furnace. Wood was split, blocked up into a cone-like shape with a crawl hole added in the center. Then the dirt was applied over top of it to smother it. Usually a young child would crawl deep enough into the middle of it to light a fire, and then the wood would burn and smolder for many days. After the fire was out and it was smoldering, they were ready to make man-made charcoal. Unlike Pennsylvania, our region was not fortunate to have natural coal to heat the crucible at over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit within the core of this furnace. So it would be turned out charcoal and a precious commodity for our furnaces were all by wood. The plantation or self-sufficient complex at Redwell Furnace would evolve quickly and was patterned, we believe, somewhat with Hopewell Furnace in Pennsylvania. Now, Hopewell Furnace was the first national historic site in the country, or park in the country. This would have included many buildings that are necessary for a prosperous iron furnace. The hammer forges, flour mill, the slitting mill, sawmill, iron washes, coaling, lime and raw iron barns, horses, animals, it just goes on. It was a huge community with everything self-sufficient right there, church and a cafeteria and a school. And in my research, I've only found one thing I haven't found yet is where did they worship? And it was probably several places, I would imagine, because there was such a diversity of people there. As an older man, Derek Pennybacker decided, after years of mounting debts, to lease the furnace to ironmonger John Patton in 1795. Pennybacker fell off his horse on the farm that my wife and I owned in 1802 and died upon impact, probably of a stroke, near the Redwell Furnace site. The furnace was said to have been the largest attended funeral in all of Shenandoah County's history. Now we were still Shenandoah County at that time. He was buried near the existing road, back up near where the stone office is. His marker sadly was destroyed when the road went through, but his gravesite is believed to still be intact. After his death, Benjamin Pennybacker took over in 1795, and he failed. And John Patton's lease failed as well, so the whole thing had really fallen apart in a big way. And they were under a lot of competition from England especially. And they went into bankruptcy. So, along about 1808, Benjamin Blackford and John Arthur bought all the furnace. I have an original letter in our collection that mentions how derelict and inadequate the conditions were of the business. But he bought it anyway, and they set up this operation in 1808. And he also built many other furnaces: Elizabeth, Caroline, Paoli, Columbia, and Catherine furnaces as a part of his empire of ironmongery. The Redwell furnace was modernized, expanded, and completely transformed and renamed for his wife Isabella. After this restoration of the furnace, it went to 1841 until a salamander, and a salamander is when it goes solid because it's not fired properly. And when it was under blast, someone failed to do their duty. As I said, all it takes is one person to mess up. And the furnace had to be taken apart, and was never to be rebuilt. And a lot of these stones were used to build foundations in the town of Luray, of town houses built about 1841. To make it clear, the process of smelting and all the impurities travel to the center at 3,000 degrees crucible. And if that isn't fired properly, you have a mess on your hands. And insurance for iron furnaces businesses at that time was not common, as the rate of failure was very, very prominent. The Blackford family were the last owners and operators of Isabella Furnace. Nicholas W. Yeager bought the whole operation and all its holdings. He was a really brilliant man. He did not rebuild the furnace stock and decided to continue the forge and the blacksmith shops for a time while pursuing other business opportunities in the town of Luray. The massive spring was so crucial to the furnace operation and is still called Yeager Spring after him. After the American Civil War in 1867, Yeager had the property to his son William Yeager from Texas. He had moved out there before the war. He was a successful cattleman and war veteran at the time. He returned back to home to Luray to come live with his family. His father set him up completely in a new operation on the Hawksbill Creek for a wool carding mill. The brick mill was successful for only a brief time. The wool carding mill at the time would be filled with a very fine wool dust when airborne, making conditions intolerable for workers' lungs, and the air was most flammable. One of the workers forgot the orders not to smoke. The mill worker struck his match in his tobacco pipe in the mill, and a terrible explosion occurred, and a fire engulfed the whole operation, and it burned to the ground. That was the last thing that happened there. The operation was destroyed, the site and its operations were basically abandoned. The remaining stone office building built about 1800 and the stone cafeteria house near the spring, both owned by the town of Luray, are still in great shape, and we hope to restore these. 3 other houses in private ownership remain close by. The Greenway Foundation Board and I are proud members of what we do, and we're working as a team to tirelessly get across this creek. So we'll need your help to do that, to get across this creek. In July of 2005, Charles Ballard, Joe Davis, and myself worked hard with the Virginia Department of Historic Resources to get this site designated Redwell Isabella, Virginia Historic District. In the same year, it was registered as a National Register of Historic Places. Pretty special. This very important site is so significant in state history and ecologically, was once the heart of the community and continues to be as we endeavor to preserve our heritage.
Well, everyone, we hope you have enjoyed episode 114 of Page Valley Livin' today, as we brought you some of the sights and sounds from the 26th annual Arbor Day celebration and also the 25th anniversary celebration of the Luray-Hawksbill Greenway. The Luray-Hawksbill Greenway Foundation has been part of today's festivities, as has Luray Parks and Rec and the Luray Tree and Beautification Committee, with many of the programs and speeches you've heard here today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Page Valley News. We want to thank Eleanor Arrington for all of her work behind the camera today and in the editing room. And as always, as we end each and every episode, we want to remind you to go to the Page County Animal Shelter and help one of our furry friends find a forever home. Until next week, from the Luray-Hawksbill Greenway, I'm Randy Arrington saying, enjoy that Page Valley living.